Bubs, welcome along to Strive 365. It's great to see you again.
Thanks, Gareth. Thank you for inviting me on.
Hey, that is some backdrop for those not watching on YouTube. You're gonna have to go and look at this. There's an aeroplane, a live aeroplane in the background. Tell us about that.
Um, that is a hobby of my husband's. He builds the remote control airplanes and then flies them at the local airfield.
Oh, that's
So,
that's awesome. Hey, it's been a few weeks since we caught up. We've spent a few weeks up in Sydney on the first sort of block one and block two of our pro license. Um, yeah, how have you found that foray into the higher end of the coach education sphere here in Australia?
I think it's been amazing to get to know so many other coaches, especially ones that you kind of see out and about on the TV, A League, here and there, and then also getting to know the people that you see on the sidelines coaching opposition teams such as yourself. There's this real fierce rivalry amongst teams, especially with us at City and Victory, but then also Adelaide United as well, and seeing so many other coaches in real life and just realizing that they're good people, and it's really important that the relationships we build is foundation for how much we can grow and push ourselves in each direction and how much we can learn from each other.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And fierce rivals and competitors we've been for, this will be my sixth season in the league, so the previous five. But getting to spend 2 weeks in an Airbnb with you and getting to know you on a personal level, you're one of the good people as well, right? So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your wisdom. Spoke about it in the intro. You're still playing professional football at 44. I really want to understand why, firstly, how, secondly, and some of the areas of, how have you been able to keep yourself in such good shape mentally as much as physically to want to keep going around year after year?
Oh, well, I'll start with the why. I feel like no matter who you speak to, um, they do ask you why, but if they're a former player, they really congratulate me. And if they've transitioned into retirement and no longer playing, they all say, congratulations, play on as long as you can. And for me, that is enough motivation for myself to say that I don't want to look back and have any regrets. I don't want to have any petrol in the tank. And for me, I'm able to do the job day in, day out as it requires. I don't get any special treatment. I don't get any, there might be a little tweaking here and there of the physio list. I get bumped up to first spot every morning. But other than that, it's all about how much I enjoy the game and how much I get out of turning up every day. And I will be the first to say that there's something wrong with me. There really is. People tell you about, you'll know the moment, and it just doesn't come for me. I wake up, I can't wait to get to training, even though it's 76 kilometers away. I finish training. I am thinking about getting into the car to drive 76 kilometers home, and all I want to do is come straight back. You know, there are things at home that I must do, and I do miss my family whenever we go away, but my motivation is set firmly on that football pitch, and I love every minute of it, and also the camaraderie and the team and the club atmosphere, and the fact that they are requesting me to come back. If they say it's time up at Melbourne City, then that's time up for me, really.
Yeah, there's sort of three pillars there. I'm just making some notes. So that resonate through joy, purpose, and then having your body in still reasonable shape. In that, even though you might be first on the physio table in the morning, but all of those equal, still having the quality to be able to perform and demand a contract. So yeah, like I love the word joy. I think it's something that needs to resonate in anything that we set ourselves to for a long-term purpose. I just want to think back to, or for you to think back to, maybe where did that joy come from originally? Is it something that, some days or weeks or seasons are harder than others, and that's something you need to keep working at, or are there things within your day that, that you build into your routine that you know brings you joy, brings you energy every day?
Oh, I 100% agree that it's an up and down roller coaster, but the joy comes in the hardship, learning to enjoy the challenges of selection, enjoying the challenges of your body, the injuries that you might sustain, whether it's collision or it's soft tissue or whatever, enjoying the challenge of rehab and doing what you need to do in order to get your best out of yourself. And, you know, being on the physio table is one of the things that I need to do to make sure that anything that I'm feeling, that I look after myself, because usually I put others first and I don't want to be clogging up the physio table being 44. So I won't get on there for any other particular reason than to maybe loosen up. And I notice that other players do it the same way as well. So it's about prioritizing what I need for myself and my body, and understanding that when the times are tough, and I'll tell you that there has been times in my career where it's been at the lowest of low, not just not getting selected or not having a team, but also that hormonal and depression side of things where you really can't get yourself into the shower, you can't get yourself out of bed. And that was at a time when I became a mother. So um, you're not going to find joy when those times are happening, and you're not going to find joy because there is no joy to be had because you are essentially injured. It's a mental injury, it's an illness, and you have to get looked after some other way. And whether it's medication, for me, it wasn't. It was about getting back onto the pitch and prioritizing myself in terms of telling people what I wanted to do and my dreams and what my goals were, and then having those people agree with me and really support me, such as my husband and my mum after I had my daughter, and then backing me and having that support really helped thrust me back into that joy of playing again.
If we rewind, say, half of your life, right? So it's still 20, 21, 22 years old. Think back to that moment in time for you. You know, starting out on your, professional football in Australia didn't exist, but you were still playing at a high level. Um, what sort of mechanisms were you doing to yourself there, your body, your mental health, your joy, that you could have improved upon, or things that you did there that really set you up for this long-term career? If you can kind of think of anything scenario based, or that you can offer the audience. 'Cause a lot of the athletes listening will be more down at closer to 20 than 40.
Yep.
And things that, should be doing, need to be aware of, go and explore these things that can help prolong a long professional or international career.
Well, for me, I had to really, well, first of all, 20 was the time I became a goalkeeper. And the reason why I became a goalkeeper is because I had a long-term injury that wasn't going away, and I ended up at a surgeon's office, and the surgeon told me to quit football. And basically, I was a field player up until that point. I had played in a friendly game between Australia A and B. I had been called up to the Matildas squad. I had experienced that environment. And when I was 20, I had the injury that kind of stopped me in my tracks. And really, it was becoming a goalkeeper that helped me lengthen my career. Let's just say that in terms of body. We can't shy away from the fact that goalkeepers can play a lot longer than field players in terms of the twisting and the turning of a field player. But when I was 20, I had zero resources. I didn't have a Victorian Institute of Sport scholarship yet. I was playing semi-professional in the Ansett Summer Series since I was 17, and I had state team. I made all-star 11s. I did all the things that a state team player can do, but what I needed to do to make the Australian team was have access to resources, and I didn't have them. And what I did was I went and sourced everybody that could help me and that was willing to help me for nothing. And when you're a female athlete, you don't have an income and you want help from people, you have to do it. They have to do it out of the kindness of their heart. And I basically absorbed everything that I could in order to learn as much as I possibly could. And, I could count probably 5 people that I got helped by at that time: Jane Oakley, Harry Chalkitis, Ernie Merrick, Gary Gronwald, people that were on my side, whatever time in my career it was. It was a matter of saying, okay, I'm a field player. This is what I need to do. And Ernie Merrick, for example, allowed me to train with his Victorian Institute of Sport boys team. And my then boyfriend at the time, he was a player there, and Ernie just let me train every session. And then when my boyfriend was no longer there, he continued to allow me to train with them. And then when he became Melbourne Victory coach, he allowed me to train with them as well. So that sort of resource was out of the goodness of his heart and really helped me so much. Even once I became a goalkeeper, he still helped me in that area. And the thing is, if you're not willing to go out there and source feedback, source extra training, and we all say, oh, you need money to do these things. You don't. You need to ask people for help, and when they're good people, they will help you. And it's amazing what can be achieved if you just ask for a little guidance.
Yeah, for me, there's two parts that there's being proactive. So again, at the end of the day, it's your career, it's your journey. People will help you, but you need to be proactive in that first instance, right? So then seeking out those that you feel can offer you value in whatever area of expertise that may be. So whether it be coaching, you spoke about before, your family helping you in other support areas. For me, it comes back to the second part being relationships. So building relationships with people, fostering those relationships, persevering with those relationships, because I believe, same as you, in general, people are here to help, especially in the sporting industry. People get into it to help people along their journey. So yeah, any other kind of thoughts around that relationship building, as well as being proactive, that younger athletes listening to now can kind of take away and maybe go and explore, or go and seek out additional help?
Yeah, I feel like don't get caught up in all the Instagram bull. It's very easy to go online and see all the people and the coaching online and trying to do it yourself. No, you got to source real people in the real world and get one-to-one contact with people. It's great being online and having access to so many people, but it's really the conversations that you have and that proactive nature of actually getting to people, asking them questions, seeing where it flows, rather than just absorbing all that information and not being able to put anything into practice. For me, the relationships I built were so strong, in fact, that people went out of their way to help me. So, for example, Harry Chalkitis, when I didn't have a W League to play in, I was playing for Australia. Female games were just too easy for me. It was just, I was not getting any competitive action. And what he did was he went out of his way and asked Richmond Soccer Club at the time to allow me to play in the men's league. So I became the first professional woman to play in the men's league because Harry Chalkitis went on his own accord to a local club and said, Melissa Barbieri needs somewhere to play to get ready for this World Cup. Will you allow her to play in the under 23s? And then on their behalf, they accepted me. And I was able to train with the men, train and play on the weekends with the men. And some of those players that I played with made it all the way into the A-League themselves. I know that there's a team sheet somewhere flying around that had some really, really, really quality players that ended up playing over 100 games for the A-Leagues. And I was in and amongst them, and I was also helping them grow as players as well, teaching them what to do on and off the ball to help the goalkeeper, or how to tuck in and do all that nitty gritty. And those are still relationships that people bring up to this day. Hey Bubs, I played against you for Richmond, or I was in your team. And it's lovely to hear that these people have done so well on their own accord.
Outside of, I guess, the increased competition by playing in a men's or a boys league, What other value do you see female athletes being exposed to male environments, potentially from a training environment, culturally, competition as well? What are the other pros that younger? It doesn't have to be football players. It could be cricketers, could be basketball players in New Zealand or Australia that aren't necessarily have the access to the environment of the elite, but potentially, as you said, it was too easy for you in your own age group or your own peers. So you had to go and find an extended environment. There's obviously some challenges around that, but what are the other pros to seeking out a male environment for a female athlete?
Well, apart from the physical aspect and the testosterone and things, and they're naturally going to be quicker, faster, after a certain age. It was also about accommodating my knowledge of the game and learning about their knowledge about the game and the differences in how I understand the game and how they understand the game, and the difference between a female athlete and a male athlete. We want to know why more. We want to understand why we need to do things, where the boys, you just tell them what to do. They don't care why they do it. They just need to know when and how, and they'll get it done. Whereas girls are more thinkers, and we adapt differently to the game. So when you actually come up against a boys team, you can outplay a boys team because you tactically can outplay them. You might not technically, and you might get done by a ball over the top and they've out sprinted you by 100 yards. But ultimately, when the Matildas would play against the boys teams, it would be that tactical part of the game that we would be successful at, and you can see the big difference. And not only that, they can teach you differences, but they can actually teach you how to be passionate about something, how to dive wholeheartedly into things, and really not give a F about anything else. Some boys in their world, it's football, 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 and for girls, we have to think about so many other things, that when you come up against a man or a boy, that they want to be a footballer, and they are so passionate, they are so dedicated, and we can learn a lot about that and how they go about things in order to attain success. And there's so many boys playing football. That's what's going to happen to the girls as well. So we need to have that drive, that will to succeed, that determination, and that resilience that they can teach us so much of.
You mentioned the Matildas a few times now, international football. So, as some stats, 86 caps, 4 FIFA Women's World Cups, an Olympic Games, and 2 Asian Cups. Can you pick a highlight out of this illustrious international career?
I would have to be winning the Asia Cup. I'm going to pick 3. One, my debut. I kept a clean sheet against Canada and we won. Then the captain holding up the trophy for the Asian Cup win. And then the third is playing against the USA in my 4th World Cup after I've had my daughter, and probably being one of the first female, if not the first, mother player at a World Cup for Australia.
Well, there's 2 big ones I want to dig into. We'll come back to the mother part second. Asian Cup 2010, captain and champions. 2 parts of this sort of part of your life. What made that group so special? Was it literally you just had the best players? Was the coaching staff the smartest? Was it a combination of team spirit and quality? Did you get lucky? Just share, because I didn't see any of that. This is new to me coming to this country. Just I'm keen to learn what was the key parts to the success of this group.
It was the time that we coined the phrase "never say die." It was really an attitude. We didn't have anything. We had to do it all on our own. We didn't have a W League. We had all these things, going against us. It was one of those times where you think, well, actually, we did have the W League, sorry, but it was that first Asia Cup in 2008 or something that we were kind of pushing the boundaries. And then when we got to 2010, it was almost as if we had learned so much from our previous escapade, And it was one of the first, times that, okay, we did it already in 2006. We got to the final. So now what can we do in 2010? And we had that already behind us. And the reason why we won that tournament is not because of luck. I won't say luck, but sheer determination, sheer resilience, because we won that tournament in the semi-final. We beat Japan 1-0. They had 80% possession, and we caught them napping, and Katie Gill scored this tremendous lob over the keeper as she's dropped it. And this first time finish was absolutely brilliant, and we went absolutely nuts. Then we had to defend for the next, however long afterwards. And, being in goals, I probably had one of the best games of my life, keeping it out of the net. But I would say it was Japan's unluckiness in finding the back of the net. They hit the bar about 3 times, and they couldn't finish. And we got one opportunity and we put it away. And that's football. That's the beauty of it. Then when we went into the final against North Korea, all the pressure was off. It was like this amazing story of all we wanted to do was get to the World Cup. And now we're in the final of the Asian Cup. Well, let's go win this now. Like, let's go for it. And, we had a little known player like Sam Kerr up front. And she slotted the first goal away. They pegged one back and got it 1-1. And then the kids took over. The Kai Simons, the Kylie Ledbrooks. The kids really stood up in the moments that were needed, and they put it home. We learnt from the lessons that we lost to China in 2006. We lost that penalty shootout, so we weren't gonna lose this one. And basically, Tommy Samani was cracking jokes on the sideline. He was like, "Guys, we're already in the World Cup. Who cares? We don't need to win this." And so all that pressure was off us, and that Australian laid back nature really helped in securing that penalty shootout in the end.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Tommy. He's obviously done really well since this time. He's gone over and coached the USA. He's coached within America. He's coached New Zealand Football Ferns, and he's now the interim head coach of the Matildas again. And they just had a great win against Germany. So there must be something special about Tommy. And you're kind of joking that he's making jokes, but there's some thought behind that, right? He's doing it really to take away the stress. Hey, we've already qualified through making the final for the World Cup, which was probably the main objective. But everybody there wants to win the trophy. Like,
of course,
no about that. What other pieces of magic can you think back to Tommy Samani and the rest of the coaching staff? Because everybody has a role to play that helped contribute. Apart from taking away the stress, what else was there that coaches listening to can go, oh yeah, that's important. Maybe I need to do more of this.
Well, Tommy has this special knack of rotating players very, very well. So in the tournament, there were games that we could win comfortably, 10-0, but we didn't want to win 10-0. We wanted to win 1-0. We only needed one goal. We just needed one more than the other team. And so he was able to mix in all of our players so that our game time was spread across. Like, even I skipped a game. There was very few players with more than 3 90-minute games by the time we got to the final. And he spent a majority of the team talk before the semi-final against Japan. Like, these guys won the World Cup the next year. That's how close they were to being really great achievers. And he spent the whole team talk before the game saying, this player's played 400 minutes, this player's played, and he was telling us all the things and why we could beat this team. They don't have the depth that we have. They don't have the players that can come on that have had minutes under their belt, that have played this much game, but have the youth to do whatever they wanted. These were the things that really counted for us, when it mattered.
You mentioned the Asian Cup 4 years earlier. Maybe you need to lose one to win one. Is an experience I've felt a number of times as a coach as well. And maybe for Japan, they need to lose that Asian Cup to go on and learn from that and win the World Cup. But yeah, you speak about de-stressing the environment, talk about filling your players with genuine belief backed up by data, by analysis, by evidence, by proof. Yeah, very, very clever man in those high pressured moments. The other part of this I want to speak about is you were the captain. So in terms of that leadership, firstly, is that something that you think you are naturally a leader and naturally born with? Or is it something that you've had to develop and chosen deliberately to develop over time?
I think there's two. I think there's the type of leader that is vocal, outward, extroverted, and then there's the hardworking captain. Now, you put every hardworking captain that there ever has been that leads by example, shows what they need. I think of Claire Polkinghorne almost immediately. Those types of people will not tell you that they're a leader, but they are. You know, I always gravitate to leadership roles because I care so much about other people. So when you care about other people, it almost automatically puts yourself forward because you want what's best for everyone. And people, when you're genuine, can see that. So if you start faking that stuff, out the window, you're not going to get anywhere with people. They're going to read you like a book. And you're going to say, oh, actually, no, you treated me like crap for 3 years and now you want to be my leader. No way. So the best leaders will do leadership every day, day in, no matter what. That style of leadership is up to them. So the working hard leadership, the looking after others, making sure that people are they've got all the game plan and they know what they're doing, and you're there to be asked questions, and you've got an open door policy and making sure that everyone's ready to go. And then other leaders can be also people that do want to be a leader, don't see themselves as a leader yet, and then work hard towards it. And then that becomes authentic over time. So you can start one way and transition into the leader that you want to, and that's where you get help.
Yeah, my feeling is as a coach, I would prefer to have more leaders than not enough leaders. I had this conversation the other day, and somebody said, "Oh, do you think you can have too many leaders, like too many cooks spoiling the broth?" And I think, no. I think genuine leaders, know when to say nothing. They know when to back out. They know when to allow others the space or the floor. So if you had a whole collection of leaders, they're going to lead at different ways and different times and different styles. And genuine leadership is not me trying to one up you or me get over top of you. We can coexist. So that's something that when I was at New Zealand football, we felt, we felt that there probably was enough leadership in our current national setup from players and players coming through. So it was an area within our development program that we looked at, again, the knowledge of more leaders is better than no leaders, or some leadership is better than no leadership. So how can we impart leadership? How can we create space where people can develop their leadership? And that was sort of a part of the program. Would you agree? Do you think, and then I guess if you do, how do you think we can add opportunities for people to lead? Doesn't have to be players, it could be coaches. What are some things that we should do, or how can we do it to develop leadership? Not necessarily all the way to be the captain of a senior national team listed trophy, but certainly everybody can improve their leadership in some capacity.
I think most times it's about allowing people the space and the time to be acknowledged of their importance in a team, regardless of what they do, regardless of the minutes that they play. I tell you now, if your 23rd player and your first player are held in the same regard, they will feel that they are able to speak at all times. Yes, they might not have the same experience, or they might not have played many minutes, but as long as you give number 1 and number 23 the same respect and the same adoration for what they do day in, day out, that is a space of safety. They know that regardless of where they sit in the pecking order, they can speak their mind, they can come to the fore. So making sure that they always have ample access to both positive and negative feedback to and from you, and then also allowing them, or not allowing them, but giving them the opportunity to answer certain ways. Because usually when coaches do things on a broad scale, they're doing the team talk, they'll ask for an answer, and usually the ones that are used to speaking up will do the speaking up. Now, if you have good leaders, you'll know that they'll know that it's not time for them to speak, that you are wanting others to speak, and then if they don't, you ask specific questions that they know the answers to. So it may have been you've already spoken to this player about this time, and giving them an opportunity to now put that into practice, speaking their mind in front of the group. And that is just a small way to give them the key to the door, just to open up a little bit, to say, hey, you can do this, and then give them more opportunities, and always interact with them, whether they're playing or not, on things that maybe in their position, maybe they didn't play, maybe they haven't made this mistake, but hey, what do you think in this moment? What have you been working on in this moment that could work here?
You also lead it to your daughter, right? So
Yes.
she's now 11. So you had her in 2013. You're playing W League football then for Adelaide, and you're in the Matildas. So you have 2 more years in the Matildas, including a World Cup where you mentioned before playing against the USA as a mum. So I'm not going to have the opportunity to speak to too many athletes in this situation who are a professional athlete, top of their game, and go through motherhood, or yeah, certainly motherhood, and then continue to play. You're a beacon, a guiding light to say it can be done. It's challenging, no doubt. Just share with those listening who might be contemplating having children and trying to be an athlete, because no doubt it's incredibly difficult. Like, what's your learnings? What's your takeaways from that? To help anybody in that situation listening, that yeah, it can be done.
Well, to start off with, I didn't have a club. I was in between clubs. I obviously got pregnant, so I skipped a season, and then trying to find a club with my sort of reputation in terms of wanting the best and all those things. I had to get a pretty level-headed coach to accept me, and I got that with Ross Aloisi. And then I basically had to sell all my memorabilia to move to Adelaide with a 6-month-old. So I will not shade over the fact that it's easy. It's incredibly difficult as a female athlete. Now it's a lot better. We have maternity provisions, and you can get maternity leave and be paid through all that. And now we even get support in terms of bringing your child and paying for the airfares. That aside, you are a superhuman. You have created a child. You have built a newborn baby inside your body. Anyone that ever tells you that you cannot play sport after you have had a child is kidding themselves. I felt like an absolute superhuman. Once you get over the fact that, yes, I have to recover. Yes, I have to get back into the stride of things. But once you've done that and you've gone through labor, you actually know that sprints are no big deal. They've got nothing on the pain of labor. So, you don't know what you're capable of until you become a mother. And then your brain and your heart develops a whole new chamber that can take care not only of yourself, but another human being, and all those around you. And it gives you a level of clarity that you've never had before. What's the most important thing in life? And then football.
And since the birth of your daughter, you've won 4 premierships with Melbourne City. So you can still not only compete, but also be successful as well. Just on the Melbourne City. So you're number 2 goalkeeper currently, and but you ended up playing the last couple of games of the season last year where you won the Premier's Plate, but you're also acting as assistant coach. So spoken to previous guests about being head coach and player, so player coach. What's your feeling around the player coach scenario? As an assistant coach, there's probably a little bit less stress and expectation around the preparation and delivery of the programs, trainings, and the games. But is it compatible as an assistant coach and athlete, or is it equally as challenging? Because the feedback so far is it's something that those who've experienced it probably wouldn't recommend, but we haven't spoken to an assistant coach player before.
Yeah, I think it's up to you how much you want to take on board, and of course how much the head coach wants to allow for you to be involved in terms of how much you deliver. So in my role, there's very rarely a moment where I'm taking the whole squad for a training sample, for example. And there are certain things that I can't be involved with, like player selection and things, because there is a cross of boundary. So those things are managed. So there is, but I do like the fact that there's that sort of boundary for me where I can speak to each and every player, because I don't know what's going on in terms of selection. I don't know the ins and outs of things, but I do know what they need to work on. I do know what I can help with in an analysis sort of landscape, and making sure that I can provide information to the head coach as much as possible. And then what I do on game day is a little bit different with this head coach. When we're not allowed to scream from the sidelines. So I have had to take a backwards step in my personality on match day. I am there for the team, but it's in more quieter times when it's warranted, so that the players have ample opportunity to find the solutions themselves. And that's really important as we grow as a team. So there are boundaries, and as long as there are set boundaries and your place in the system, it works really, really well. And I mean, Michael takes a lot of the heavy load, and we do have a second assistant coach and also a goalkeeper coach. So we have ample people that we spread jobs across the team. And my job is basically to look after the change room. Them being men, they can't be in the change room at all times, and I'm just there to make sure that the vibes are high, that people know their jobs, and if there's any last minute instructions that need to be said, I can deliver at any moment, regardless of the attire people are wearing.
Yeah, it's quite a unique scenario, isn't it? It's there's some things there that I hadn't considered, but I can see it as a real value add, having someone with great in New Zealand we call it mana, great respect within a group,
Oh, I really
genuine
appreciate
leader,
that.
but also is there as an athlete. You have a job to do. You have a goalkeeping coach. It's not like you're coaching the keepers as well. You're there to train, but you're part of the staff. So you can flick between both, and a bit like a leadership group, we have a number of people where it's kind of the go between the players and the staff, but having somebody as part of both sets of staff, playing staff and the coaching staff, is a real value add. So yeah,
And I
possibly.
also find it really really valuable when I'm on the pitch and I'm in training, and I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm actually helping the strikers on how to score against me. Hey, why don't you do this? If you did this, I need to do this, and then you can expose me here. And so giving them key information whilst they're doing it is really helpful. And then also helping my defenders learn how to defend, and taking that information on board. Because when I'm in analysis and when we're doing things, I get the whole landscape. I'm not just thinking about being a goalkeeper.
Yeah, and people, the central defenders or the fullbacks, when you're speaking, they know that, hey, it's coming as an assistant coach here. It's not just a goalkeeper's telling me how to defend in wide areas. There's some
Yeah.
validity behind it as well. So, yeah, you guys might be onto something there. Might go away and explore that a bit further. But in terms of additional coaching, you are also a head coach. You coach at high school level. Haileybury College here in Melbourne is a big school, important school. You're the women's coach. The men's coach is Grant Brebner, ex A League legend at Melbourne Victory and A League men's head coach. What is being a head coach like at high school level? What are some of the things that you're trying to get across to your young athletes? Is it about your own personal learnings you're trying to disseminate, or are you using that more as an experience to develop your own coaching competencies and qualities?
Well, I take everything that I love from all the coaches that I've ever been coached by, and I get to implement it at Haileybury College. And the setup there is absolutely ridiculous in terms of, recovery, gym. I have access to everything. And when the players that turn up, they turn up regardless of whether they play football full-time outside of school or if school soccer is their soccer. I want them to feel like the utmost professional when they step onto the park with me. So I am practicing my high level of coaching because I am asking of my athletes to play at that high level. And I will always understand if a player cannot technically produce what I ask them to, but by gosh, I can see it. They're trying to implement it. They're trying to do exactly as I'm asking. They might not make that pass. They might not be fluent in the dribble, but boy, is it it's absolutely riveting when I have a girl that does opera outside of school, that is an ace at maths, an absolute 99.9 enter score, and then she's trying to play football while she's going through year 12 and absolutely dominating. It's such a special thing. And then I do have the NPL players that do play football, and seeing them grow as players and leaders on the field because they're in charge of their school team. I can see how much they grow as people away from football. So it's really, really exciting, and I don't ever want to leave there. It's just an absolute wonderful school to work for.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of diversity there, but some things that you led off with: high standards. We're here to train like a pro, and having someone like yourself to role model that is amazing for those athletes. But everybody's at a different stage on their journey, and it's about trying to help each of them to their next level, which for me in this podcast is about hopefully exposing or providing additional experiences, environments, and resources to go away to help people slowly shift up their level as well. One of the big parts additional to this for this podcast is around the parent space. So speaking to parents, or thinking back to interactions you have, like, do you have processes in place? Are parents in your environments welcome to come and chat to you? Is it scheduled in? Do you have enough interaction with parents? Would you like more? To sort of take that as you want to take it. But yeah, thoughts around best interactions with parents for pre-high performance athletes.
I actually get more interaction with parents as a player than I do as a coach. The high school team, we train during school hours, so very rarely are the parents there. And then on a Saturday, they get to see their kids shine if they come and watch them play. So I feel like I have a very well balanced. Like the parents are welcome to email me at any time with questions or queries or worries. But it's very strict in terms of that. I think they just love enjoying and watching the kids play on a Saturday, that they very rarely ever ask me a question on the sideline. They certainly are never unhappy with our performances because I train the girls so hard, and because I require such fierce effort. They can see that their kid is trying their hardest, and that's all that matters to them. So that's the part of school football I love, that the NPL players are playing at a high caliber. That means their parents are happy. And then the kids that don't play soccer are just happy that their kid is trying their hardest, regardless of the minutes that they get. So it's a well-balanced thing. I get to interact with a lot more parents in terms of when I play, because I have an ability to really help their player in support systems as much as I can, and I get to see them on a daily basis that a coach wouldn't necessarily see in the change room, when they're having their sad moments, when they're having their happy moments, and when something is not right, a parent can and know that they can talk to me and get me to just check in on their kid that little bit more often if they're having trouble at home.
You mentioned support networks, support systems. You mentioned earlier about, your mum looking after your daughter when she was born and stuff. Think back to, again, kind of the late teens, maybe just in around the Matilda setup. You've just changed position because of the injury. What are some of the other additional things that your support network helped provide you at those sort of more formative years, or things that maybe you're trying to do or about to do with your daughter as she kind of goes into sort of teenage years?
Well, first of all, they kept it real. So when I was still a field player, I had just made I was 16 when I made the Matildas squad, the big squad. I didn't get into the whittled down team. But when I got home from that camp, I had a really big head. I just thought, I haven't done anything special up until now. When I came home, instead of actually going harder, I kind of went, oh, well, it's just going to come now because you just keep playing. And rather than going, okay, I've done this, now I need to do this, I went here and I just kept going at that same level. And I didn't realize that I'd made and lost an opportunity until I was watching the 2000 Olympic Games opening ceremony on the TV. And I'm looking at my mum going, why does that girl look familiar? And I'm like, she's not familiar because she's famous. She's familiar because I played against her. I didn't know you could go to the Olympics as a footballer. So Australia was in the 2000 Olympics for the first time because they were host nation. And I was looking at people that I got MVP over, All-Star 11 with. They're on the TV and I'm not. And I'm like, how is she there and I'm not? And my mum said, well, she must have just trained harder than you did. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And they're the ones that keep you on the ground. If she had done it 2 years earlier, maybe I would have been there. But that real support when you need it, that tough love when you need it, and then as an athlete, accepting that tough love. You have to be willing to accept it and realize what it's trying to teach you. I think there is a real problem in today's that we want to make it so easy for our kids that they don't have to go through any trials or tribulations. And they don't learn if they don't go through trials and tribulations. So the main thing I work with my daughter is that I'm going to give her all the opportunities that she needs, but I'm not going to push. I can't light the fire for her. So I can't, I can be the ones that, pushing, but then she'll just resent me. So I have to allow her the time and space to do the things that she loves and then make rules around that. I don't care if you play well. I care that you try 100%. I don't care if you make 100 baskets at basketball. I care how many times you stop someone from scoring 100 baskets. They're the rules that I put in place. And then when she comes off the field, or the court, I should say, and she's frustrated or whatever, I remind her, did you try your best? Did you try 100%? Did you stop another person from scoring baskets? Yeah, you didn't score any. And so I have that ability to go. And then if like boost her, but then if she comes off saying, I'm so good, I did this, I did that. And I'm like, well, you got 5 fouls. So was that really good? Or is it, time for a bit of tough love? Trying to be rewarded for not playing the game to the best of your ability is not okay.
Hey, there's a lot there's a lot in there, and just a few notes just to circle back on some things. You spoke about effort. Reminded me of part of our pro license. I went into the Melbourne Storm, and the first thing that I was sort of told, they are an effort club. Everything here is about effort because that's the one thing that each athlete has under his or her control, and that's what they measure first and foremost. You talk about gently pushing or nudging people, son or daughter, towards where they want to go, but you can't light the fire for them. It has to be lit from within. and those trials and tribulations. I heard a great saying the other day is we want our athletes to and children to have bruises, not scars. You want them to fall over and be prepared to allow them to fall over and i.e. fail. But then you're picking them up. You don't want them to go and get seriously injured or have a really serious sort of negative effect on a experience, i.e. the scars. So yeah, hey, lots to unpack there. Bubs, this has been brilliant. We can keep chatting for a long time, no doubt, but I'm just conscious of your time, and let's push on with the rapid fire questions if you wish.
No problem.
First one, set me in the audience a question to think about this week.
I was thinking on a personal level, if there was anything you could change about the past that you think would make your future better.
Deep. Like it.
Because if you are really thankful for everything that you have, you should look back and say, no, I did everything I could.
Very nice. Provide us or outline a concept or idea that we can consider in our line of work.
In our line of work, I would love to have an ability. I'm a bit selfish. As a player, when I don't get to play on the weekend, I need a game. So we need to have that second tier of female academy that we can play week in, week out. So regardless of playing time in the senior W League team, we need to have an offset of that so that you can then continue to get match minutes and keep your fitness up, because you don't want to see that part of your squad going ahead and the back part of your squad dropping off. You can do as many tops up as you like, but you can't replicate a game.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and something that your club, my club, are striving to do as well within the local federation. But there's some roadblocks in place, but we'll keep pushing and keep finding some solutions. Give us a recommendation for a book, movie, TV series, or podcast that either parents, athletes, or coaches can enjoy.
It's actually called The Performance Mindset: 7 Steps to Success in Sport and Life by Anthony Clarica.
Brilliant. What's it about?
It's just about confidence building and a performance mindset, and making sure that you're leading self with the utmost integrity. It's about passion, meaning, and purpose, and then resilience as well, all thrown in. Yeah, it's a little bit of leadership as well, but it has some research in it that's really, really intriguing.
Sounds like all the ingredients needed for both a high performing athlete and a high performing coach. So yeah, it's a great recommendation. I'll have to check that one out myself. If I gave you a magic wand and you could wave it away and change one thing you would like, I'll leave it open. What would you change?
A magic wand to change anything would be. Do you think in my life or anything?
Wherever you want to go.
I would actually like to change the age restriction to referees to ref at a high level, because a lot of people don't want to become referees until they're finished playing, you know.
So for those who don't know, there's an age cap, right? A ceiling. Once you cross over that threshold, you can't referee internationally. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it. What's one piece of advice that you were given that you can share with us?
You're always going to play with an injury. One of the things that, every time a certain coach, I won't name them, but a certain coach would be like, so how are you today? Because I worked with him. How are you today? Oh, I've got a bit of this, I've got a bit of that. And he was like, you do know that being an elite athlete means that you're going to have to always play with something. And it was really eye-opening in the fact that if you're training hard and you're working hard every day, your body will never be 100% tip-top. Like, you're always going to have a sore here, you're going to have a headache here. But if you know that you've done everything that you can to put yourself into a certain space, the rest will take care of itself. As long as you've done the 1%ers to get you to this point, you're always going to be something sore. Like, I jammed my finger today. Now I'm going to have to play with that for the next 4 days. You know, it's just, everything's going to come at a price. If you're willing to pay the price today, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, great advice. What is the thing that you are striving for today?
Playing time.
Very good. And finally, leave us with a quote for the week.
Don't let success go to your head or failure go to your heart.
Brilliant. Hey, Bubs, on that note, it's been a great hour. I've really enjoyed this. There's been some things that I wasn't aware of. I can think back and go, yeah, actually that's something that I can go now apply in my own environment, listening to an athlete talk to me as an athlete, but then also as a colleague and as a peer from a coach perspective. There's some things that got me really thinking. So no doubt everybody listening would have taken 2 or 3 things out of here as well. So I appreciate your time. We wish you well for the rest of the season. Many more years to come. Hopefully not many more trophies to come, because we are.
No problems, Gareth.
Thanks so much for sticking through to the end of this episode. It would mean the world to us if you could hit the like or share button so we can get these amazing insights out to other like-minded coaches, athletes, and parents. Cheers.